in France, it's been more than a week since public sector employees have been striking and protesting a controversial labor law. Workers are blockading oil refineries and major shipping ports, which has led to disruptions in transportation services and fuel shortages across the country. Let's take a look back at what's led up to this point. Now, in mid-February, the government proposed labor law changes making it easier to fire workers and allowing some to work longer than the capped 35-hour week. Well, a few weeks later, rail workers went on strike over a wage dispute. Hundreds of thousands of people demonstrated nationwide on March 31st. Another nationwide protest was organized the following month. Dozens of police were injured in violence and more than 100 demonstrators were arrested. But the French government refused to back down, and protests were again held on May Day. Now, 2 days later, Parliament began heated debate on the labor law. But on May 17th, President François Hollande bypassed the process and pushed the changes through. Well, Dana Lewis joins us now live from a train station in central Paris with the latest. Dana, first let's start with the railway strikes. Tell us where the unions stand now, and are things any closer to being resolved?
No closer, and I think really the gap is growing in some of these negotiations with unions around the country as we speak, Andrea. This is the Parnasse station in the 14th district of Paris, and I was just inside, and you can see on the notice boards they have put out information not saying that there is a national rail strike beginning right now, but they say certain trains are being retired from service, and people seem to be moving a little bit quicker here tonight to get to those trains, knowing that some of them are about to shut down or have been scheduled to close down earlier as this national rail strike begins. Not all of the trains are being closed down, but many of them are, adding to the problems already in the country with these very violent strikes which took place last week with fuel supplies and problems with fuel supply across the country. And then, of course, as you know, they are also talking about the tube, the metro in Paris being closed on a strike on Thursday. The Air France pilots have also voted to strike on Friday, although the government is said to be in last-minute negotiations with them. And this all at a time when really this country was looking to get back on its feet. In terms of tourism, the summer season is starting. Paris was devastated by those terror attacks in November, and suddenly tourists are canceling in droves after seeing the pictures of those violent strikes last week. And then next week, you have the Euro 2016, the football championship in Europe, where they're supposed to have some 2.5 million people coming into this country to see the Euro 2016. And the question is, how are they going to be able to run that championship and move people as the transportation shuts down, Andrea?
So, Dana, what is the government's strategy to actually deal with this?
Well, I'll tell you, the first thing in their strategy is not to back down and not to blink, because this government has staked its future and its reputation on being able to reduce that very solid 10% unemployment rate, which is much higher than the European average, in trying to reduce the unemployment rate. They believe that these labor laws are their last chance of freeing up sort of employers to hire people, but also be able to lay them off when in times of economic trouble. They are not going to back down from that. What they are doing now, though, is they are separating the unions and trying to negotiate one by one across the country and trying to stop a national strike where all of the unions come together, and they are trying to settle some of these disputes before the whole thing gets worse. Whether they can do that, a very big question, and right now we haven't seen very many positive signs they can.
Okay, Dana Lewis, thanks so much for that, live from Paris.